Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Get Out of Rap. Today, I'm joined by Dan Cohen, and Dan is the head of customer relationship centers at Nespresso. And me and Dan have, hi Dan. Me and Dan have been in touch and feel like we've known each other for a long, long time. We finally met up about a week ago. It was a week ago at the awards. Towards the end of the evening, so we were probably slurring our words a bit, but it's absolutely brilliant to have you on, Dan. I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you. Pleasure, Martin. Contact centre celebrity, so absolutely overjoyed to be here.
Thank you. We were just saying it's celebrity minus all of the trappings and anything like that.
Yeah. Celebrity, but got to pay for everything yourself.
Yeah. So we talked, like I say, at the awards, and it's the great thing about LinkedIn and certainly our industry is through events and things like that, you can feel like you know people without really knowing them. But I'm really keen to take you right back to where it all started for you. What's your journey been to this position now at Nespresso?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one for me. So going right back, I left school sort of 16, there or thereabouts. And I left with fewer GCSEs than I used to quote on my CV, but decided school wasn't for me. And my parents were very clear that, well, that means you become a big boy and you go and get a job. I always laugh about the first sort of proper job I had was in a factory. Still to this day, I can't clearly remember where it is or what they made. And I was on a station where the bloke next to me passed me a box of sort of metal rectangles, and my machine used to punch a hole in it. And I passed it on to the next person. No idea what we made. It was really old school. There used to be a bell that rang for break time and lunchtime. There was still a smoking room at that point where everyone sat and had the lunch in a cloud of smoke. And about 3 or 4 weeks into that, I thought there has to be more to life. I'm surely destined for more than this. So I decided to leave, and I became an apprentice joiner. But a shuttering joiner, which is slightly different to the carpentry you'd find in your house. And it's working on large buildings. So I worked on Bridgewater Place, which at the time was just a hole in the ground. It's the largest building in Leeds now, and it's created a bit of a wind trap. And worked on there for around about a year. That was a real period of having to mature, working with I was 18, 19 at the time, working with 30, 40, 50-year-old, predominantly blokes.
Yeah.
Who really educated me in things I knew nothing about as a naive young child. Did that for around about a year. Wasn't very good at it, pretty bad at shuttering joinery. So I knew it wasn't going to last an awful long time, nor was I probably cut out for being out in the cold and the rain for 12 hours a day. So the company actually went into administration. So the first thing they did was get rid of the apprentices. So I then needed to find something else. And I went on to become a door-to-door salesman of gas and electric, around about 19 years old when I was doing that. Commission only, no base salary. You had to sell each day, working Monday to Saturday. No holidays or annual leave or any benefits like that. But I have to say, in terms of helping me become the person I am today, what an experience. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as a living, but when people talk about imposter syndrome, there is no better way to get over it than having to knock on a random person's door and have absolutely no idea who's going to answer and start talking to them about gas and electric.
Yeah.
A real sort of character building. It wasn't as bad as people would necessarily expect. Not many people close the door on you. Some great stories, probably more for the pub Martin, in terms of how some people answered the door, and we're quite comfortable to do so. But yeah, that was a great experience. But after 9 months to a year of that, yeah, that was kind of my fill. And then I moved into contact centres, sort of fell into it, needed to find a job, and there was a business in Leeds called Ventura, which you may or may not remember. I think has since become Capita. And I worked on the British Gas campaign as an advisor on the phone, and I was a nuisance. That place was. It was kind of like an extension of school, if I'm honest with you. And yeah, we messed about. We learned every trick in the book to avoid being productive. The breachers, they were called, used to ring me regularly and literally say, "Get out of rap."
Nice.
Which is why I've always enjoyed this title, because it's been shouted at me many a time. And yeah, I was there for well over a year, actually, until the fact we were such a nuisance that it caught up with us, and they sort of gave us the option to improve or exit, and many of us decided to exit at that point, as there was a bit of a shift in management and culture. Rightly so, by the way. But I always look back on that with fondness, because there's not many tricks I don't know now, which have assisted me in where I am. And then I decided to get a little bit serious. So I'm becoming a little bit older, slightly more mature. I'm still borderline whether I'm mature yet, but slightly more mature. And I suddenly had a realization that the contact center, if you wanted to accelerate your career, if you just didn't mess about and work hard, the opportunities were huge, and you could sort of stand out quite quickly in terms of finding that next step. So I thought I'll buckle down. I then joined a company called Enact, which is a legal organisation. It's the largest mass conveyancer in the UK, and effectively it's an outsourced legal company for predominantly most of the high street banks. And they outsourced their legal work then, and started on the phones, knuckled down, worked really hard, moved into complaints, led the complaints team there for longer than anybody should do for their own sanity, working in the complaints sector. Identified as talent, moved into the operation as a team manager, working on equity release, which was fascinating, and then into becoming the operations manager. And I managed to get to ops manager by the age of about 24, 25, something like that, which looking back seems absolutely crazy. I suddenly had the client relationship piece with four huge clients in the end. And I was sort of rocking up to dinners as a young 24-year-old, and people talking about the holidays and these amazing places that were going, and asking me, and I was planning a trip to Malia with the lads. So there was a bit of a discrepancy, but again, really good at accelerating how mature you were. There for 6.5 years or so, loved it. Wasn't particularly well paid, but the culture and the people were absolutely amazing, and that's where my love of the office and the community sort of comes from. We some of my best friends still to this day, my partner, I met all of those guys at NAT, and we used to go out and have some great laughs together. We worked really hard, but we played even harder. So loved it, but knew that I sort of wanted to go on and progress more and more. I moved over to an amazing organisation called Step Change Debt Charity. So completely different from the legal sector, moving into the third sector, charitable organisation, the largest free debt advice organisation in the country, which, by the way, is really prevalent to what's going on at the moment in the world. And if anybody listening is struggling in any way, what an organisation that will help you with no judgment. And yeah, had an amazing time again. Still to this day, the group, my peer group from there, we're in a WhatsApp group, and incredible relationships with them. And probably found the leader who inspired me the most and really wanted and really encouraged me to work on leadership and become a better leader. Lorraine Dunn, who would be amazing on this podcast, far better than I. Still to this day, we call her the gaffer. Haven't worked for her for 6, 7, 8 years, but she's still the gaffer. And yeah, really, really inspired me in sort of the 2.5 years I was there. Then made another change, sort of over to the dark side, joined Provident Financial Group, and was there 3.5 years. Really different culture, sort of work hard, good rewards, but yeah, quite different. But learned an awful lot from there. And there I was the collections contact center manager, moved on to the senior operations manager for contact centers, had a spell as interim head of there. And unfortunately, things didn't quite work out for Provident. They did quite a big transformational change, which didn't land as well as we'd hope. So I took voluntary redundancy from there after that period in financial services. And then, yeah, things led me to Nespresso. And I've been with Nespresso for just over 3 years now. Love it, amazing. I should be clear, I'm here in the capacity as Dan Cohen, so my views are that of me rather than Nespresso, but an incredible organisation, moving into FMCG, head up the customer relationship centre there, and yeah, just thoroughly enjoying it. You know, the contact centre life has got me hooked in. People speak to me about different opportunities, and I say, I know it sounds quite perverse, but I love the contact centre. It has hard days, good days, but really engages me and makes me want to get up in the morning, really.
More power, more power to you, because it's not perverse to say we love the contact centre. And thank you for sharing. There's so many good things there that I absolutely love, and I think there's people that know and like the show, have more knowledge about Get Out Rap more than me, that might correct me, but I think you're the first person that has been quite open, and I can absolutely resonate with this, been quite open about the fact that you can have a laugh, and doesn't always necessarily mean at a certain point in your career that you're toeing the line, right? I can remember, and it has put me in good stead, but I can remember when it came to, I had to put together a team, and I had to write the bonus plan, right? And I was getting pressure that I hadn't come up with a solution quick enough. And they were like, "What's taking you so long? Normally I'm quite quick with my work." And I said, I know when I was on the phones, we would get together and go, right, how do we play this bonus plan? How do we earn the most by doing the least, right? Yeah. And I said, so I'm trying to write a bonus plan that stops the Martin Teasdale of previous years that's out there taking the mickey from gaming the bonus plan. And I was like, I just couldn't do it. You know, I was like, they'll find a way. They'll find a way. Because we used to do, like, playing practical jokes on each other was part of my day.
all sorts, absolutely. And, you know, work, I mean, not to the extremes we went to, but you have to have fun at work, yeah? I always think one of the most underrated skills of a leader is a sense of humour. Life doesn't have to be so serious. There's enough serious things that are happening in this world. You only have to switch on the news for 5 minutes. You can have a sense of humour and deliver, but yeah, I mean, the practical jokes, you know, messing around with people's keyboards. We used to change the letters, so they were trying to type, and an N would be a W, and you know, all sorts of silly things that you do as a young person. But they're also part of growing and learning, and to the point you made, sort of helping you later on in your career when you go, I need to stop that younger version of myself doing some of those things.
I can remember being ahead of a contact center and still doing the keyboard joke on my contact center manager at the time. If she's listening, Kate won't mind me saying she rang IT because she thought there was something wrong. And she was getting her name and password wrong because I had changed some of the letters she used. And those kind of things, I think you make such a good point. We have to be, it's funny the amount of people that have had similar backgrounds and acted similarly to us who, when they become super senior, get super serious, and you think you're forgetting the reason you're in this industry. A lot of it is because of you've talked about, you made friends for life, you played hard, you worked hard but played harder, the jokes that you had. Why, when you get to a senior level, would you stifle that? It's strange, isn't it?
It is, and I mean, look, I think there's always an element, and you may resonate with this, and people listening as well. There's always an element that you sort of, as you progress, you need to become a little bit more mature, and you almost, you need to rein it in somewhat, and you become the person that when you walk into the kitchen area, everybody falls silent, and you're like, oh, I'm not in the gang anymore. Usually, people are wanting to engage me. So there is an element of that, but I don't ever think you should forget who you are, and that goes to bringing your true self to work, remaining professional. But I think wherever you decide to just put on a character, and we all have our work version of ourselves, okay, versus that who you are with your friends. But if you push that character too much, I think it's only detrimental to you personally, probably in terms of your mental health, because it must be exhausting to put on a character for 8 or 9 hours a day. And you'll probably get found out, because what makes you unique, what gives you your talent, what gives you your skills is being you. And I think wherever you try to hide that too much, and that's not to say that you don't need to have the skills of managing upwards and stakeholders and knowing your audience. We all know those people we could play the practical joke on. So to your point, you could do it to Kate, but there could be Bob in the office who you would never do it to. Hell would break loose. But I think that's about being, showing a level of emotional intelligence and getting to know people and what you can do with them. But yeah, I'm always of the view, life doesn't always have to be so serious. Like, we're not here for a long time, unfortunately. And we can work hard, we can be successful, we can achieve great things, but we can have a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah. I think you've made a really astute point, which is, I look at people now and go, it is a sign of emotional intelligence that you can read the room and know your audience, right? And know that when is it appropriate to do a pelvic thrust dance to try and motivate someone?
I missed that at the awards, Martin.
We used to, there's some of the things we used to do. We used to go, if someone was having a tough time, tough day, especially if you're in sales and things, or collections. I did the same, or complaints. These calls aren't always fun, are they? So you can see people in your team that might be having a tough time. This is when I was a team leader, me and another team leader would go, do you think they need the dance? And we would just go round on either side of them and do some really weird dancing. And, you just think those sorts of things, yes, we need to be inclusive and mindful of other people's sensitivities and things like that, but not to the point that you can't have a laugh, not at someone's expense. Most of 99% of the time, it was at my expense. It was you'd be putting yourself out there as the fool to try and entertain yourself, but also entertain the team.
Absolutely, and it starts to be what I'd describe the sort of frame of the culture. So for the culture for me is always that purpose and the why, and why are we turning up to work, and what's giving us the drive to do it, and what makes us want to get out of bed in the morning. And that's kind of the picture. But pictures brought to life sometimes by the frame around it. And I always look at some of that stuff you've just described in terms of being the frame, that bit of fun, that bit of light relief. And you're absolutely right, as probably predominantly contact centre leaders. I think other leaders look at us sometimes and go, these lot have absolutely lost their mind. Why are they dressing up in that silly outfit? That's not very serious. But those light-hearted moments can go a long way for somebody who's had a really tough day. And to your point, some of the calls are not easy. Collections is particularly difficult, and not just from a point of view of somebody shouting at you, but actually you can hear really heartbreaking stories of the situation somebody's in. And we're only human, and it takes its toll on us. Those light-hearted moments and having a laugh are just crucial to life anyway. I'm somebody who likes to have fun. I love laughing. Hopefully, if it does make you live a little bit longer, I should reach a ripe old age, because I love a laugh and a joke. But I'm absolutely with you on that. It's brilliant, and I'm looking forward at some point in the future. I need to see this hip thrusting dance at awards or something like that.
Yeah, the dad dancing I did with where we had like a proper teacher was a bit of an eye opener, really, because I said, "Can I freestyle?" and she was like, "Absolutely not. No, you cannot freestyle. I've seen it, so you need to just follow the program." I was going to say your career story I found really inspirational, and just that it's, you made some brave decisions at a very young age, kind of like leaving the factory, going to work as a joiner. Like you say, I've worked on a building site as a young student, actually, and that was, like you say, a real eye opener. They did not take any prisoners, and if you couldn't handle their grief, then it wasn't the place for you. But you did all of that. The door-to-door sales. Again, we used to get a lot of people into the contact center from that world, and one thing, that they're not afraid of hard work, and they're not afraid of rejection, and they're good at trying to make a connection. You did all of that, and I know something that you're really passionate about is that our industry, the entry into it and then the growth afterwards, right, is something that we probably don't talk enough about, and we need to, especially right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of rather than a badge of honor, it's sometimes looked at as a badge of shame. I only work on the phones. Actually, the skills that you learn from being in a contact center, and I'm really passionate about the fact that not only from a professional point of view, but actually for society, and you as a person, and how you can deal with life, because away from, we'll come on to the opportunities, but working on the phones in whatever guise, or on live chat, working in the contact center, you don't know what's going to land in your lap from a customer perspective, which builds a great amount of resilience, objection handling, thinking on your feet, being creative, navigating endless systems. You sort of become a tech genius overnight through force, with many a tab open, and sort of anyone from outside the contact center who comes and does a bit of call listening, sort of minds blown of how these people sort of.
I just need to log on to these 17 systems.
Yeah. And sorry, the 18th as well now, because they've asked this question. So, and we're getting better at that, right? We're looking to improve that, and technology is another part of that. But you start to learn all of these skills, but then also quite rightly, and again, I'm a massive advocate of this, the inclusion and belonging piece in terms of business as a whole. But I feel like we've had that for a long time in contact centers, sort of the demographic of a person that you could be sat next to, who's in your team. You get a real cross section of the country, really, and people from all different walks of life. And I've learned more from the people around me than I could ever put into the words, and my understandings of different cultures and religions, and you know, all of that sort of stuff, and neurodiversity of the different people who come in and the way they look at things. I just find it a really special place for really growing as an individual. And of course, people start at all ages, but for me, as a young person entering that environment, I really truly think it allowed me to develop and try to become a person with more breadth in my life than maybe I would have done from just my peer group at school, or just being on a building site, which has got a very typical demographic of men of a certain age, sort of talking about a certain topic regularly, to sort of this explosion of different people. And then yeah, the opportunities. I mean, I'm not thick, but school wasn't my thing, and I didn't go on to university. I mean, I wish I'd have had the social stuff that goes on around university, which is amazing, but wasn't really my thing yet. I've still been able to carve out a career I'm proud of. That isn't over yet. I've been able to support my family through it. I've been afforded many great experiences, and I just feel as though it's a great platform into a business, and you get to. And one thing I'm always speaking to people about in contact centers is try to understand the business as well. If you want to grow, don't just get caught up in contact centers. Understand the bigger picture, because you're going to speak to a broader group of stakeholders. And what a place to understand a business. The customers are speaking to you. The voice of the customer is coming through to you, and you're gaining insight that marketing teams could only dream of, because you're hearing it firsthand with 60, 70, 80 people a day telling you what they think of your products, of your service, of how you go about things. It's incredible insight, and you've got all of that stored up in you that you can then bring to the table and explain how we can improve things and be an influential partner to the business to help them improve and grow the credibility of the contact center and the amazing things that we bring to the table. So yeah, we've spoken about it before. I love it. I do feel as though it should be something that is spelled out to people as a career path, and it's not easy. It's hard. You're not going to start on celebrity salaries as you begin, and things are improving there, and benefits are improving significantly, but it's a great platform for people to accelerate. And it's often a great fun place to work. That work hard, play harder. Not so much anymore with two young kids, but I know the team now, COVID's over, they're back out for their Thursday, Friday drinks and socializing, and they're having a great time. Yeah, I'm really passionate that it should be something we look at more favorably, as they do in some other countries, rather than seeing it as I just work on the phones and it sort of, oh, is that what you do? I feel a bit sorry for you, because actually there's nothing to feel sorry for. It's an amazing job.
I completely agree 100%, and you make such a good point around the insight that you can gain into how your business is, the services and products are being received, how different marketing campaigns land, how service proposition changes are responded to by customers. And one of the things I used to say to my teams, and having been like you on the phones, you need this occasional reminder to lift your head up, right, and go, because you can get quite narrow, right, and just think, right, here comes another contact, deal with it, move on to the next, deal with it, move on to the next. And leaders said this to me was, if you're passionate about wanting a career, lift your head up a little bit and just think of your morning's customers. Like you said, senior leaders don't ever hear from customers anymore unless they do it through focus groups, or they've got market research on their marketing teams, or whatever. And I know there's really nice ways of doing it now. However, to actually hear their voices, where your product or service fits into their life, how are they engaged, yes or no? And someone said to me, right, just take a step back and tell me about your morning. How are the customers responding? What have you learned about our proposition? And so often you can go, I don't know why we do this. Why is it that our orders are already blah, blah, blah? You know, and look, so many problems and solutions, but sometimes you have to be prompted to go, just take a step back. Just think for a second. What is this telling you about our business? What are you learning from this time on the phone dealing with our customers over and above just kind of like getting through it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's been a better time for people to be reminded of that. So, you know, pre-COVID, and I'll generalize that C-suite may have seen the contact center as more of a cost center. And it was kind of like, you know, how can we maximize contact deflection at all costs? You know, how can we drive down the amount this is costing us rather than seeing it as a value add? And that's a big generalization I'm making and being slightly facetious on purpose. But for all the horrendous things that COVID brought us, actually what it did do for the contact center is the contact center is dead, long live the contact center. Because suddenly everyone was like, what are our customers saying? What's going on? What's happening out there? And you know, and it also brought us long overdue flexibility within the contact center. You know, there's no way you can work from home. Everybody needs to be in. We need to be able to see your stats and how long you're going to the toilet, and you know, all those crazy things that used to happen. To actually putting trust in people and seeing it as value add and moving from this concept of cost center to actually an experience center. There's been a seismic shift into e-retail, e-commerce. Actually, this is the point our customers are meeting us, and now everybody wants to know what are our customers saying, what are they telling us about. And it's a great opportunity for people working in the contact center to that exact point you've made. Pause, put your head up. This is what they're saying, and again, it starts to build your career for you. And actually, okay, this person's got great insight. You know, how can we move this person so that they've got more of a platform? So I don't think there's been a better time for what you've just described. We're now in an ascendancy versus maybe being managed more as a cost center, and how could we manage it with sort of the least input, so to speak.
I love that relationship center. That's just spot on. And of course, it's your title, isn't it? Head of Customer Relationship Center. And it's funny how words are so important, because straight away the emphasis is on that customer being at the center of customer relationship, and that's so important.
Absolutely. And you know, words are important in terms of the scene it sets. You know, everything from we don't call our guys who are speaking to customers or on live chats or on social advisors, they're coffee specialists. We want to elevate what it is they're bringing to the relationship. Nice. to our customers. But even our you know, outsourced work or BPOs, we always describe them as partners. And I know that's a very subtle, or even our technology providers, they're partners. We're in this together, and actually the words are quite important to make sure that we're all in it together, and we're all working towards the same purpose. So yeah, relationship is key to us where I am at the moment, but it's wider than just the customers. It's everybody, making sure they feel as though they are part of what we're trying to achieve, be that in-house or the partners we have working with us to deliver our service.
Can I ask you about your gaffer then, and the person you still call gaffer, Lorraine Dunn, you said, I think. What was it, or what is it about her that led to this kind of, because I think, like you, I've got someone that I can point to and go, they were there at the right time that just unleashed something in me. What is it about Lorraine?
Good question. And hi, Lorraine, if you end up watching this, or Gaffer, I should say. I don't know. I think it was just that timing piece. I think she had a great level of experience. She was somebody who was quite different in the charity and was quite aligned to my values. She'd been in financial services for a long time prior to joining Step Change in the third sector, and she's still there now. But everything she used to speak to me about sort of moved away from sort of, and of course we'd covered this off, but sort of just spending your one-to-one talking about KPIs and what's the service level and what's the AHT and et cetera, et cetera. And of course we'd cover that off, but spent far more time sort of coaching me, I suppose, and I didn't realise at the time, and broadening my my sort of understanding of the world in terms of encouraging me to read, Covey, Sinek, Blanchard, all of these things which many people will have read, and start to look at things in a little bit more strategic way. And she had this great concept called the way we do things, which I've tried to sort of take with me in different guises, and I don't use the same name anymore. And it was kind of a structure that included all the things that people would try and do now: well-being, culture, performance, all these things. And I said, why do you call it the way we do things? And she said, because at some point we're going to get so good at it that other people are going to ask us how we do it, and we're just going to say it's the way we do things. And she just inspired me, spoke to me a lot about what's the legacy that you want to leave behind when you're going into an organization. A lot of us end up in a bit of a cycle, and I forget the person's name who was on your podcast, and he spoke about sort of year one building, then embedding, then sort of enjoying it in these sort of 3-year cycles, which Alex Ferguson used to speak a lot about as well, in terms of how you build. And a lot of us end up in those 3-year cycles, and then maybe do a cycle in a bit or 2 cycles and move. And talking to me a lot about that legacy, which as soon as I sort of got to grips with what legacy meant to me, it really pushed me on and inspired me to do more. But and I probably haven't said it enough to her directly, but she was definitely just that leader that I needed at that time to give me the confidence, the insight, the push to say, actually, I want to go on and do more. And I was genuinely terrified when I had to hand my notice into her, because she'd encouraged me so much to go on and do more, that I went and grasped this opportunity. And it was only after 2.5 years, and I probably felt like maybe 2 years actually, I should have been there a little bit longer. But her approach to that was incredible. The way she took the resignation. I'm pleased for you. How do we get you prepared for your next role? And the biggest testament I can give to her was, I was only on a month's notice, and the new organisation wanted me as quickly as possible, but I thought there's no way I'm leaving the gaffer in the lurch. So I told them that I was actually on a 3-month notice period, but I could probably negotiate it to 2, because I wanted to even, I was going for more money, more opportunity. That was the loyalty that she built in me. So a bit of a rambling answer, but I probably can't pinpoint it exactly, but you might have had that experience where there's just a leader who does something, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know if I'd ever be able to replicate it. It was just the person I needed at that time to allow me to go on and achieve what I have done, and hopefully achieve more as I progress my career.
I love it, because it's very similar. I'm sure there's lots of people listening that will have had similar leaders. And for me, what you've expressed there comes down to the moments that we spend with people, in whatever the relationship is, whether it's leader, like the people that you're managing. It's more than numbers. It's about the relationship, and it's about developing people. And it's also understanding, if we look back, as is our want sometimes on this podcast, when you look back, you look at key moments, right? And I know for the teams that I've managed, I talk to them about, you'll get presented with key moments, and if you're not ready to properly engage with someone at a human level, you can miss them. And I said, you don't ever want to be the story that someone is telling their family and friends about how their boss reacted when XYZ happened in a negative way. You want to be You never guess what happened when I told my boss I had to leave for the day because our cat got run over. They did X, Y, Z, right? And you want the end of that sentence to be something that makes the other people go, what a lovely place to work. What a lovely boss. I said, and you'll get presented, especially when you think about team leaders, they're managing like 15 people, and 15 people create 15 different variables of life events happening all the time. How do you respond when someone phones in sick? How do you respond when someone talks about a family member that's ill? How do you respond when someone says their child has done something good or bad, or they're challenged by X, Y, and Z? How you show up at those moments, that's leadership, not whether you're talking to someone about the fact their AHT is 10% higher than everyone else's. That's not leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, what's key to remember, whatever your fancy job title is, you're a human like everybody else. And actually being human goes a long way. And, you know, wherever I've been, we talk about culture and well-being, and, you know, we all have sort of frameworks of the way we want people to be. And I sometimes look at it and go, if you remove all of that, just be a human. Just, you know, we all know how to be, or most of us know how to be a decent, understanding human. And whatever your job title is, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, there's nothing wrong with it. It's what you should try and do. Now, of course, there's the pressure of, you know, we're working for a business, we're being paid a salary, and we need to make sure we deliver. But you can do that while still being a good person and being understanding, rather than just crack it. And in the long run, to your point, I think you'll win, because that person goes away and says, wow, that person was really understanding, did the right thing for me. They immediately want to do more for you and go above and beyond for you, versus you know, if you've taken a different approach, they're immediately turned off and think, I want to do the bare minimum for this person because they couldn't be there for me. So you actually lose out in the in the long run as well. But I should also be, you know, it's tough. Like, no one's born knowing how to be a leader. Like, at points, I've probably been a really bad leader. Not probably, I have been, and I've had to learn as I go, and I learn all the time. I still wouldn't say, you know, and I don't think I ever will be, I'm the perfect. I get things wrong regularly, but I hope my team, when they're listening to this, I have a very open dialogue with my team, and, you know, feedback works both ways. And every day you're learning. And when you start out that leadership position and you think about being a team leader, quite a lot of the time you get given the job because you were good on the phones or whatever. And again, the industry is getting better at sort of finding people who've got the right attributes to be leaders. But you sort of get this job title and go, there you go, there's 15, 20 people, you're now the leader. And you go, oh, great. And you go and sit down and look at all these people and go, me, boss, you do. You know, and you sort of, you learn and grow from there. And it's okay to be really aware of that. That life is all about learning. One of my favorite videos is Michael Johnson, I forgot his name, basketball, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, you know, widely regarded as one of the best basketball players of all time. There's a great Nike advert from the early 90s, which is him talking about the fact he was given the last throw 26 times and missed it 24 and missed over 300 shots in his career. But all of those things helped him become the amazing player he was from all those failures that he had. And that's what life is. You live, you learn, you grow. And as I've moved from each organization, I like to think I'm a reinvented person of myself, and I try to become a better leader everywhere I go. So for anyone who's listening who's first embarking on it, it's okay not to know quite what you're doing. You will learn, you will grow from people around you, and hopefully you come across those great leaders like the gaffer that give you the inspiration to really kick on.
You told me at the awards actually about the kind of, you've been given the title and then you're like, Right, I am the leader, so let's get going.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's sorry, go on.
no, I was just going to say the Michael Jordan advert for those people that are maybe much younger. Go and check it out. It'll give you goosebumps because it's that kind of win or learn mentality, isn't it? And that every time it's not worked, it's just an opportunity to learn. And I absolutely I love that. And you can tell that you've embodied that throughout your career, but with it seems like the right outlook and mentality. And do you bring that to bear in your culture now?
Yeah, I mean, I like to hope so. We're really dedicated to creating a great place to work in terms of culture, and I like to think that I do, and we're not perfect, and we're always working on how to improve things, but yeah, absolutely sort of encouraging people to be open, to be honest, to try things, and keep people engaged, and try and create that purpose as to why we're doing what we do, and have some fun along the way as well. It's really, really important, really important.
Do you think could you have envisaged when you were the mischievous agent with your mates that you'd now be at a senior level?
No, I mean, even before then, and who knew where life was going to take you? But for me, and it's different for everybody. I've probably exceeded the expectations that I had, that my teachers certainly had going back to school. By the way, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this job, but the usual, the teacher saying, well, you're going to work in McDonald's, which, by the way, is a great career. Again, a little bit like contact centers, people accelerate through there. But no, it has surprised me, but I've loved it, and that's why I'm so passionate about the industry and the opportunities it affords people. I'm nothing special. I've probably got no real discerning skills, other than a decent amount of emotional intelligence, a passion to want to do well, to grow and do a good job, and the contact centre has given me the platform to go on and do that. But I always say to my team, I don't really know what I can teach you, but I can champion you, and I want you to grow, and I love nothing more than seeing them develop and move into new roles, and become bigger than they thought they were going to be. I just think it's a really amazing thing to be able to do, and it becomes less about self and more about the team, which is something that I've come to learn as I know more about myself is a really important value to me. Yes, I want to progress, and I want to grow my career, but actually I get the most joy and return from sort of service to us and others, and helping them move forward with their career. I get a real sense of fulfillment from it, and pride and happiness. And again, the contact center industry has given me that platform to do it, which I never thought I would. And like a lot of people might, I joined the contact center, absolutely no idea that you fast forward 15, 16 years and I'm still doing this. It was just kind of something I fell into, wasn't very good at, was very mischievous, decided actually put a bit of effort in, and here I am today.
A virtual high five. I would definitely want to work in your team. I think I'm a kindred spirit. I've been in situations before where people have said, "What's your main skill?" And I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm a generalist more than anything. And more power to you, Dan. I honestly, it's been a great episode. I've loved listening to you talk. I know behind the scenes you do a lot for a lot of people, not just in your company. You've helped me out with some things I'm doing, which is all about just helping others, and that kind of servant leadership and I've found your talking to you today inspirational. So, Dan, thanks very much for coming on. I hope we can do this again, but it's been a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, far too kind. Genuine pleasure coming on and spending some time speaking to you. And yeah, thank you. Been
Thanks,
good.
Dan.